Every single day, we open digital maps without even thinking. We zoom in to check traffic before work, scroll over our neighborhoods from a bird's eye view, and trust that what we see on the screen is pure, unquestionable reality. Satellite imagery feels like absolute truth, a flawless snapshot of our planet, frozen with scientific precision. We've grown comfortable believing there are no blank spaces left on Earth. No mysteries. No unknown corners. Orbiting satellites scan scorching deserts, frozen oceans, and dense forests non-stop. Their lenses miss nothing, or at least, that's what we tell ourselves. But what if the most advanced eyes in the sky sometimes show us things that shouldn't exist? What if the errors are so convincing, so unsettling, that even experts hesitate before explaining them? In this video, we're diving deep into 7 of the most disturbing and unexplained discoveries ever spotted on popular virtual maps. We'll start with an island that vanished into thin air, move through eerie symbols burned into remote landscapes, and end with a black void so dark it seems to swallow light itself. By the time we reach the final location, you'll understand why modern technology can create illusions more terrifying than any ancient legend. And if you're fascinated by mysteries like this, make sure you're subscribed and stick around until the end. The last one is truly unforgettable. The island that never existed. In 2012, a large research vessel sailed confidently into the Coral Sea. Its mission was simple: study Sandy Island. This massive landmass, roughly the size of central Manhattan, had appeared on nautical charts and global maps for decades. It was printed in atlases, taught in geography classrooms, and clearly visible on digital navigation systems. As the ship approached the coordinates, the crew watched their instruments carefully. The weather was perfect. Visibility stretched for miles. The location matched exactly. Everything suggested they were about to see land rise from the horizon. But when they arrived, there was nothing. No beach. No trees. No shoreline. Just endless dark blue water rolling beneath the hull. The captain immediately checked the sonar to avoid hitting hidden rocks. The reading showed nearly 4,900 feet of depth, deeper than stacking 5 Eiffel Towers on top of each other. The vessel was floating through what maps insisted was solid ground. Online forums exploded almost instantly. Some claimed it was a secret military testing zone that had been hastily erased by global powers. Others insisted it was proof of a glitch in the matrix. Satellite anomalies. Magnetic distortions. Even time portals. On digital screens, Sandy Island appeared as a strange dark shape, an unnatural block carved out of reality. The panic fed itself. The truth? It was a mistake over a century old. Back in 1876, a whaling ship reported seeing a massive dark formation in those waters. Most likely, it was a gigantic floating raft of volcanic pumice, rock expelled from an underwater eruption. The sailors marked the coordinates, believing it was land. Cartographers copied the error again and again, unwilling to fund expensive verification expeditions. In some cases, mapmakers historically even inserted fake places intentionally to catch plagiarists. When digital mapping systems were created, they inherited the data without question. The ghost island lived on in databases long after it had vanished from the sea. It took modern scientists physically sailing there to finally erase it from existence. Even the smartest satellites can recycle dusty human mistakes. The blood-red lake near Baghdad. If the Coral Sea showed us land that wasn't there, Iraq revealed something far more disturbing, a lake the color of fresh blood. In 2007, satellite users exploring the outskirts of Baghdad noticed something shocking near the district of Madinat al-Sadr. Amid endless gray concrete and dusty streets sat a body of water glowing an intense, unnatural red. The boundary between the normal canal water and this crimson lake was razor sharp, almost as if someone had poured gallons of chemical dye into it. The image spread rapidly. Fear followed. At the time, Iraq was in the center of prolonged conflict. Theories turned dark fast. People whispered about secret mass graves. Industrial dumping. Slaughterhouses draining waste into hidden reservoirs. Underground chemical labs leaking toxins into groundwater. No one wanted to believe a color that violent could be natural. But biology tells a calmer story. The lake's extreme salinity and intense evaporation created the perfect environment for specific bacteria and algae that produce red pigments to protect themselves from harsh sunlight. As water levels drop and salt concentrations rise, most life dies, except these resilient microorganisms. Their pigment acts like sunscreen, turning an ordinary pond into something that looks straight out of a nightmare. What appeared sinister from orbit was actually survival at the microscopic level. The pyramid in Antarctica. Then came Antarctica, the coldest, most remote place on Earth. In 2016, satellite viewers scanning the Ellsworth Mountains discovered a structure that seemed impossible. Rising from the snow was a colossal pyramid with 4 remarkably straight sides. Its base stretched nearly 2 kilometers wide, dwarfing the Great Pyramid of Giza. The symmetry looked deliberate. Engineered. Almost polished. Social media erupted. Was Antarctica once ice-free? Could an ancient civilization have built monuments before recorded history? Were there hidden military bases buried beneath the ice? Alien technologies sealed under frozen silence? Geologists quickly stepped in. The formation is known as a nunatak, a rocky mountain peak protruding through thick glacial ice. Over millions of years, freeze-thaw cycles sculpted the stone. Meltwater seeps into cracks during rare warm periods, then freezes and expands, breaking rock apart like a relentless invisible hammer. Nature, given enough time, creates geometry more precise than any architect. No lost civilization. No alien blueprint. Just physics and patience. And yet, sometimes, the most unsettling shapes on Earth aren't natural at all. To uncover the next locations, including a giant pentagram carved into the landscape and a black island that looks like a hole in the planet. Far from crowded highways and city lights, near the Upper Tobol Reservoir in Kazakhstan, satellites captured something that immediately triggered alarm. Etched into the remote steppe was a perfect 5-pointed star, precisely enclosed within a circle. From orbit, the symbol looked deliberate, bold, and impossible to ignore. The diameter stretched nearly 1,300 feet. To walk from one edge to the other at a steady pace would take several minutes. The lines were clean, symmetrical, unmistakable. And what made it even more unsettling was the isolation. No major cities nearby, no obvious infrastructure, just vast open land and this enormous geometric mark stamped into the earth. Online speculation spiraled instantly. The pentagram has long been associated in pop culture with secret rituals, occult gatherings, and hidden societies. Forum users claimed it must be a clandestine meeting point for powerful groups. Some insisted they had seen strange lights hovering there at night. Others imagined landing pads for extraterrestrial craft. The remoteness of the site only fueled the dread. But the explanation was buried in history, not mystery. During the Soviet era, this land was intended to become a massive summer park for youth programs and workers. Architects designed tree-lined pathways in the shape of a star, a prominent symbol of that time. Roads were laid, saplings planted carefully along geometric lines. The full park was never completed due to budget shortages, and the area was eventually abandoned. Decades passed. The trees matured, their crowns thickening and merging. From ground level, it looked like an overgrown grove. From space, it formed the sharp, dramatic star that frightened millions. What felt like a sinister mark was simply the echo of a cancelled construction project, reshaped by time and nature into an internet legend. The face in the Canadian Badlands in 2006, a satellite user studying the terrain of Alberta, Canada, stumbled upon something deeply uncanny. Among dry hills and eroded plains appeared the unmistakable profile of a human face staring straight upward. The proportions were shockingly accurate. A broad forehead. A defined nose. Full lips. A strong chin. Even more bizarre, it appeared as though this colossal stone figure was wearing modern headphones, complete with a visible cable trailing downward. The head stretched nearly 1,000 feet from chin to crown, roughly the size of 3 professional football fields placed end to end. Social media filled with theories overnight. Was it an ancient monument carved by indigenous civilizations? A forgotten tribute to a legendary chief? A signal facing west for cosmic reasons? The supposed headphone detail intensified the conspiracies. Time travelers. Lost advanced technologies. Ancient beings communicating across eras. Geologists, however, offered a grounded answer. The formation is a perfect example of pareidolia, the psychological tendency of the human brain to recognize familiar patterns, especially faces, in random shapes. Over centuries, rain and wind eroded the soft clay-rich soil into gullies and ridges. From above, shadows and contours aligned in just the right way to mimic a human profile. And the headphones? A simple oil well structure connected by a dirt access road. Our minds are wired to search for meaning, even where none exists. But sometimes, satellite illusions don't create faces, they erase detail entirely, turning living landscapes into pure darkness. The black void of Vostok Island in late 2021, while millions were still spending long hours at home, one curious internet user was casually scrolling across the vast blue expanse of the Pacific Ocean on Google Earth. Then something strange caught their eye. A tiny island stood out violently against its surroundings. This was Vostok Island, part of the Line Islands in the Republic of Kiribati. Around its edges, bright coral sands gleamed under tropical sunlight. Turquoise waters shimmered gently. But at the island's center was a pitch-black mass, a darkness so complete it looked like a hole punched through the planet. There were no visible shadows. No texture. No variation in tone. Just a flat, aggressive void absorbing light. The screenshot went viral almost instantly. The original post asked a simple question: what is this? Within hours, millions had seen it. People recalled how mapping algorithms sometimes blur military installations or censor restricted areas with black rectangles. Was this another classified site? A secret underground laboratory? A hidden prison? Some joked, half seriously, that it was proof we live in a simulation, and the texture simply failed to load. A broken pixel several hundred acres wide. The truth was both simpler and more fascinating. Vostok Island is uninhabited and covered almost entirely by an extraordinarily dense forest of Pisonia trees. These trees grow tightly packed together, forming a thick canopy that blocks nearly all sunlight from penetrating below. Their dark green leaves are so saturated in color that, from high orbit, they appear nearly black. Satellite cameras face a technical challenge known as dynamic range. The bright coral beaches and reflective ocean force the sensors to adjust exposure for the lightest parts of the image. As a result, the already dark forest canopy becomes underexposed. The camera simply cannot capture detail in both extreme brightness and deep shadow simultaneously. To the automated system, that living, breathing forest compresses into a solid black shape. Nature built a perfect light trap, and advanced imaging technology interpreted it as emptiness. The spiral in the Sahara and the Egyptian Sahara Desert near the Red Sea coast, satellites recorded a colossal spiral emerging from the sand. Unlike the chaotic dunes surrounding it, this structure followed flawless mathematical symmetry. 10 raised cones and 10 matching depressions twist outward in a precise logarithmic pattern resembling the golden ratio. At the center lies a circular hollow that resembles a giant pupil staring skyward. The entire formation spans over 100,000 square meters, roughly the size of 15 professional soccer fields. From orbit, it looks like a spacecraft pressed its engine into the desert floor, or like the ancient sands opened a single unblinking eye. Rumors spread quickly. Some confused it with the Eye of the Sahara, though that geological structure lies in Mauritania and formed naturally millions of years ago. This spiral, however, was unmistakably artificial. Speculation ran wild: alien landing markers, acoustic navigation systems, dormant portals from the era of the pharaohs. But the real creators were contemporary artists and engineers, Danae Stratou, Alexandra Stratou, and Stella Constantinides. Their project, titled Desert Breath, was completed in the 1990s as a monumental land art installation. Over 8,000 cubic meters of sand were moved to sculpt the design with mathematical precision. At its center once lay a circular pool that shimmered under the sun. Over time, the water evaporated, leaving the dark depression visible today. The artwork was meant to explore infinity and the passage of time. Wind and erosion gradually soften the cones and fill the craters. Year by year, the desert reclaims the geometry. One day, it will vanish completely. Not an alien message. Not a hidden weapon. But a philosophical reminder that even our grandest creations eventually return to dust. Final reflection: we've seen how a 19th century mapping error created a ghost island that fooled modern navigation systems. We uncovered the biological secret behind a blood-red lake in a conflict zone. We watched Antarctica's frozen peaks mimic ancient pyramids. We learned how an abandoned Soviet park turned into a terrifying symbol, and how Canadian hills transformed into a silent stone guardian. We discovered why a dense tropical forest can look like a hole in reality, and how human art can make the desert open its eye to the sky. Our world is far more complex than it appears at first glance. Satellites are powerful. But they are not infallible. Algorithms are advanced, yet they still rely on interpretation, and interpretation can deceive. If this journey changed the way you look at digital maps, leave a like and share your thoughts below. And now tell us, which of these objects did you find the most dangerous?